In this video, I am going to look at the 16 players you should know going into this NCAA women's tournament. And well, I have seen lists around that sort of go through the players, but I remember when I was first trying to get my head across women's basketball, which to be frank, I'm still doing that now. But when I was, it was just all too much to take in. So what I am going to do in this video, which might be my worst video of all time, I have no doubt, and that's a big statement if you've seen all of my content. But in this video, I am going to list the 16 best players and their equivalent doppelganger NBA player, if you like. Now I note, I've seen on some podcasts that this is considered offensive, comparing a female player to a male basketball player. I don't know if that's the case or not. But for me, it just helps me sort in my brain what type of player they are or what type of style they play, because I grew up on 80s and 90s basketball, and that's probably most of all the players I'm going to compare the current players to are to those players. So we're talking Steve Nash, Kobe, and all of the players of my generation, because I don't know, once you have kids, it's hard to keep up with the NBA, so it's almost the current NBA is a bit lost on me, except for the superstars. So if you are offended with me comparing female basketball players to male players or saying they play similar games, then this is not the video for you. So please go away now. You have been warned. Now, one of the reasons I'm doing this is I see that I've had a lot of new viewers. I assume it's people wanting to sort of learn about the women's game before the tournament. So if you are a new viewer, consider subscribing to the channel. We cover women's basketball. The aim is to cover it like the guys get covered. I try to avoid overpraise and saying how wonderful everything is, because I feel that's what the commentators do all the time. I just like to call it like I see it and how the men's game would be called. Now, this was way too long of an intro, but without further ado, let's get into this. The top 16 players that I can have comparisons for. So we will start from the bottom. And by the way, where they are on the list isn't about their ability or anything. It's just the way they showed up on my page. So the first one is Te-Hina Paopao of South Carolina. As I said before, she is one of the best transfers this year. I would put her in bats 1 and 2. And she's the magic elixir that South Carolina needed. In terms of who her equivalent is in my mind, well, I was thinking Ray Allen, but really, because she has the shot, she has a beautiful shot. I think she's shooting 40% from 3, but then she has a handle and can swing between the point guard and the shooting guard. So after serious consideration, I have decided that she is Joe Dumars. If you don't remember, Joe Dumars was the running mate of Isaiah Thomas. He could handle the ball, but he always made big buckets and would play off guard. So that's who I've put Te-Hina Paopao as. The next one, Charisma Osborne of UCLA. She's a tough point guard, maybe slightly undersized. Not really. She's not terribly undersized, but she's tough. She can shoot a bit, but not a great shooter. I feel her game reminds me, and it's way back. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. But you can look up highlights. Quinn Buckner from Indiana. Yes, just a tough, solid point guard. Charisma Osborne, in my mind, is Quinn Buckner. Feel free to correct me in the comments and give your better suggestions if you have them. All comments are wanted. The next one, Hailey Van Lith. I was wondering who is Hailey Van Lith, and then only one person came to mind for me, and it might not be so much of her game, but now their games are comparable, but I can only think of the one and only Danny Ainge. Yes, I think that's perfect, because Hailey Van Lith, I don't know what it is, but a lot of times she seems to bring out a lot of hate in people. I remember after the Texas game where she got under the Texas girls' skin at that game, and I know Louisville fans are not the happiest with her. So yes, Hailey Van Lith, you are Danny Ainge. He had a quality shot. He could play the point. I think he did a little bit of that for the Celtics when DJ was on the bench. So HVL, yeah, you were Danny Ainge, all right? You don't whine as bad as him. You don't whine nearly as bad, in my opinion. You don't look, but you do make some good facials at time. The next one, Elisa Peely of Utah. Now, anybody that's watched my channel, I think you know where I'm going to be going with this one. With Elisa Peely, there's really only one, in my opinion. she is the one and only Charles Barkley. Because like Chuck, like she can go inside, outside. I just think they look similar and the way they played was similar. Now, Elisa Peely, she actually has, like Chuck had small hands. He couldn't palm the ball. Elisa Peely has monster hands. I think she could palm the size 6 women's basketball. So really, in a lot of ways, and Peely's a better shooter than Charles Barkley. Like, if you look back at the record books, Charles Barkley was a terrible three-point shooter. But where these guys are similar, in my opinion, is they're vertically not big, but they can challenge the bigs in there and push them around. And that's why I think these two are very, very similar. And the next one I'm going to look at is Aaliyah Edwards. And well, if I have a Charles Barkley, then I need a Karl Malone, the mailman. And I think Aaliyah Edwards has a similar game. Now, like, I don't think she's quite the scorer, obviously, Malone became. But if you look early in her or his career, Karl Malone would always attack from the top of the key and sort of have like that running layup. And I did a video of Aaliyah Edwards, and she does the same thing. Like, she really attacks from that high post position. She can occasionally, her shot's not quite consistent yet from the elbow, but it's getting better and better. But the way she attacks from that elbow really reminds me of Karl Malone. Rakia Jackson. Now, long, hard thoughts on Rakia. I'll probably get suggestions on this or tell me I'm wrong. But the one that came to mind to me, because she's like 6'2", she's a big off guard, and she can have games where she's great, but she's not quite the greatest one. There are other ones that are obviously better off guards in the college game, and when she goes pro, they'll be better off guards as well. And so the name that came to me in my mind, and it's probably my Houston bias, but Clyde the Glide Drexler. I think she is quite similar to that. She can take over a game if she gets hot. She's just very athletic like Clyde was. So yeah, Rakia Jackson, you are Clyde Drexler. Now, let's take a look at the rookies. So first, Hannah Hidalgo. Hannah Hidalgo, it's easy, but yeah, tell me if I'm wrong. I was thinking Chris Paul, because she can shoot like Chris Paul can. Like, he had a really great mid-range game and is just like the perfect point guard. He was an annoying defender. Now, Malaysia Fulwiley. This one might be a reach. I'm probably going more for the nickname more than anything else. But I thought about Malaysia Fulwiley, and I'm thinking Vinnie Johnson for her. The microwave from the Detroit Pistons. He would come in and light up the game, and that's what Fulwiley does. The other one I was thinking, again, nobody will get this reference, but instant offense, I think it was Benny Anders from the University of Houston. Phi Slamma Jamma. So I have Fulwiley, yeah, either Vinnie Johnson or Benny Anders, but happy for your suggestions. I'll try to throw in a Benny Anders dunk. He had an awesome dunk one year in the tournament, which, God, that guy should have been a lot better than he was in the pros. I think he dropped out of Houston, actually. Anyway, I digress. The other major rookie next to Hannah Hidalgo is Juju Watkins. Now, I've got one choice in my mind. Thinking yourself, who am I thinking? Think it to yourself. Who am I thinking? Yeah, I've got Kobe Bryant. When I watch her, I just think Kobe all the time. She sort of looks like Kobe in the face somehow, like a female Kobe. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but as well, then her game reminds me of Kobe, a little bit of James Harden as well, the way she gets to the line and gets free throws, but the way she works her opponent to the elbow, but she still has a three, and just, yeah, I see that one is probably one of the most equivalents in my mind. The next one, Paige Beckers. So I thought long and hard about Paige Beckers, and what I came up with was Steve Nash. I think they are very equivalent. Like, Steve Nash, once he got to Phoenix and D'Antonio let him play and do what he can do, he was awesome, and that team was so fun to watch. He would get everybody involved, but if he needed to score and get a bucket, he could do that. And yeah, I just think his game and the way that Paige Beckers plays, those two are very similar. And in a lot of ways, when that Phoenix team, or when UConn is rolling, they remind me a little bit of that Phoenix team to a lesser degree, if you know what I'm saying. They move the ball, it looks pretty, it looks beautiful, and she's the conductor that makes it go, just like Steve Nash used to do. Georgia Amore. Now, again, if you don't follow women's basketball, Georgia Amore is an Australian. I think she's like 5'6", so she's not very big. She always has a smile on her face, and she gets knocked down. She pops right back up. She's like the Energizer Bunny. Yeah, that's her comparable. She'd use the Energizer Bunny. But and the thing that makes her deadly, she has a nice step back, and the player I think she reminds me of, they weren't doing the step back then, but she reminds me of Mark Price. I don't know if you remember Mark Price. He played for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think he was at Georgia Tech before that. And he could get to the basket, but also he had a money shot. Like, he could really shoot the ball from outside. But yeah, Georgia Amore, she can shoot the three ball. She can get to the basket. She's the perfect point guard. Hopefully they can make a run, but it seems doubtful because it's pretty evident that Kitley's not going to be playing in the tournament, I would suggest. Camilo Cardoso. Now, I'm scared on this one. I don't want to get in trouble with this I don't want Dawn coming after me and making me apologize, all right? She is Brazilian and she is a big, but I'm not going to put the two together. She is a good player and I totally respect her. And she reminds me of Mark Eaton because she's very big and can cause teams problems on the inside with her height that makes it difficult to shoot inside. That said, that is not meant to be any sort of disrespect to Cardoso, as Mark Eaton turned himself into a good player. He used to give Hakeem Olajuwon fits at times when Hakeem was first going up against him until Hakeem figured out to use his speed and get him outside. It was interesting watching those two go at it because that was the one player where Hakeem would do his dream shake and Eaton would just be like, yeah, I'm waiting for you and I'm going to block it. All right, the next one is Angel Reese. There are two players for Angel Reese, in my opinion. I imagine I'll make people angry for this, but I don't think it's disrespect at all. With Angel Reese, I think she is Draymond Green, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that because he's an A-plus defender, A-plus rebounder, and can handle the ball, get them in their offensive sets. He has one little kryptonite thing. He's not the best shooter, and I sort of see that for Angel Reese. She might develop her shot over time. I don't know. If she does, then she's going to be an unbelievable player in the WNBA. If she doesn't, then I see her sort of being Draymond Green or Dennis Rodman. That would be the other comparable. But Dennis Rodman couldn't. I think she has sort of like Dennis Rodman's sort of athleticism for the game that she plays. Like, she gets up quickly, but I think she's more comparable to Draymond Green because she can handle the ball. Like, she did used to play as a guard, and she is good that way. With her, the good thing about watching her, the interesting thing is, like, she is so good when she's off balance. Like, I'm sure she'd rather be on balance and stuff like that, but putting balls up against the basket, they just always seem to go in. It seems like there's no way that's going to go in. She's just thrown that up and it goes in. So that's just full credit to her. Next one, Cameron Brink. I thought long and hard about Cameron Brink, and I wonder what the commenters will think if I've got this right or wrong, but there's one player that just keeps on coming back to my mind when I think of Cameron Brink, and that is Ralph Sampson. Yes, the Houston Rockets' Ralph Sampson. And again, that's not meant as disrespect. Ralph was awesome. Like, Ralph was awesome his first 2 years. And then, a side note on this, Sampson actually injured his knee the first time when they had a dance troupe out before a Rockets game. And then they left scuff marks on the floor and they used varnish to wipe it off, but they didn't get all the varnish off the floor. And then when Sampson was running down court, he slipped and tore his meniscus. And then when they did surgery, they were like, yeah, we'll just take out the whole meniscus. Not a big deal. And once they took out his meniscus, he made it back that season for the playoffs, but his knee was wrecked. He had an arthritic knee in 3 years' time because they took out his meniscus. It was bone on bone, unbelievably. But before that, he was just born in the wrong time. Like, if he would have been born 20 years later, he was the unicorn everybody was looking for. I still remember Bill Fitch just losing his mind because Sampson would take jump shots from the high post and he wouldn't post up enough and he wasn't aggressive enough and everything. He took so much grief from the fans and everybody. He was just ahead of his time. Poor Ralph. But anyway, Yeah, I think Cameron Brink, she reminds me her game because she can shoot outside. She's sort of that unicorn a little bit, but as well, she's so long that she gives players trouble. And just the makeup of her body just reminds me of Samson. Again, maybe just me. Tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, but that's what I see when I watch her. Last one is Caitlin Clark. I think if you close your eyes, you know who I'm going with. Yes, it's Stephen Curry of the Warriors. They are both, you know, they both can shoot. They're freaky shooters that have unbelievable hand-eye coordination. You give them a sliver of space and they will bury the jumper. So therefore, in my opinion, Caitlin Clark is Stephen Curry. And there ends the list. Those are the players you should know and who I think they are comparable to in NBA terms. If you're still watching this video at this mark, then give the video a like. Your comments are welcome. Thanks a lot for watching. As well, your poison is welcome, especially on this video. If you hated it, then tell me that as well. I can take it. All right, thanks a lot for watching. Have a good night.